More moves likely incoming for the Montreal Canadiens, as not only are we on the heels of the Noah Dobson trade that changed the entire future of the Montreal Canadiens forever, there are more rumors circulating right now with Pierre LeBrun and even Elliot Friedman dropping bombs on a certain star winger from the St. Louis Blues, Jordan Kyrou. We have to dive into these rumors. A guy we've talked about before on the show, a top tier, top six winger. It's getting even more insane for Montreal, but again, the Dobson stuff we have to revisit, look at what this means for the future of the Habs, including the possibility of trading Mike Matheson, and also the implications on Lane Hutson's extension. A ton of insane stuff going down right now for the Montreal Canadiens, but welcome in to this live stream. I know the draft is going on right now. We don't have any picks, but it doesn't matter. We are live anyway. Jesse, on the heels of the biggest trade for the Habs since we acquired Patrick Laine last year. This is unreal. This is insane. The whole future has shifted for Montreal, and now I'm even more intrigued about maybe we'll make a move into this first round or add like Jordan Kyrou. It's getting out of control.
And we knew it this whole time, right, Josh? Like we were saying, like he's up to something. Like we know Hughes was getting a little too eerily silent.
Yeah.
Where we knew something big was brewing. Obviously, we heard the rumors, but like for it to go down today, for the implications, somehow we don't lose a Mailloux. Like, Josh, there's a world where Mailloux is a better player than Heineman. Like, I love Heineman. He's really good. We hope that he recovers from that car accident. It seemed to affect him a little bit, but like, I think saving Mailloux in all this is so important. But like, Josh, I'm just hyped to be with you and like, obviously all the fans to kind of break down this trade because there's obviously like so much to kind of go over, right? Like, obviously, Josh, like, I'd love to hear your opinion on this, but like, wouldn't you agree that like one of the most implications like of all of this is just that it shows that this Montreal Canadiens team wants to compete. Like they don't want to just be in that mushy middle. They want to make a play. Like, what is your thoughts on that going forward? Like, is that the biggest takeaway that you might be getting from this recent news?
I think so, because I mean, we revisit Kent Hughes' quotes from a few months ago, and he was saying, look, you don't just get top tier right defensemen, they're almost never available in trade. And what did he do? He went and traded for a right defenseman. I mean, look, you've been saying it since day one of this offseason after we were eliminated from the playoffs. It would be a disservice to this team to not go out and not necessarily go all in and trade all of our futures for stuff, but to make a move to improve this team. And realistically, if you guys remember, I feel like some people have like maybe short-term memory on what it would cost to get a guy like Noah Dobson. When we were talking about him, when his name was floating around deadline, people were saying Caufield, Slav, this kind of level of player, because a guy with Noah Dobson's caliber does not come up very often. Now, again, we were like, no world the Habs are ever going to do that, so we kind of threw it out, right? But to get him for the price of these two picks in this first round, we'll see what's going to happen with the Islanders. They did pick Matthew Schaefer first overall. We're keeping track on the side here, taking a look at what's going on here now, but it is taking so long to make every single pick. So, hey, kind of glad we don't have to wait, Jesse. But look, it absolutely is the biggest thing. And here, we got our first super chat of the stream. Thank you so much for being here. We got 100 people in here on draft night talking about the future of the Habs. I got to put Jordan Kyrou in the thumbnail, but thank you so much for the super chat from Daniel Solito. Will Montreal do something else today? Now, you know, before we dive into Dobson and Kyrou, I want to answer this. Thank you so much, Daniel, for the $5. It's a great question. And by the way, shout out to all our other channel members and loyal viewers here. Sorry if we don't get to your chats. There's a lot to get into today, but I see Mark Orr there. Hello, all you awesome Habs fans. I saw Frank Thibault there earlier. So many wonderful people in this chat here. Going to scroll back up, show everyone. And also, by the way, Jesse, from Austin, Auto 1993. Love you, Uncle Jesse, from your Leaf fan nephew. P.S. Congrats, Habs fans, on Noah Dobson. Anything to say for Auto 1993?
Oh, Austin's the best. Thank you so much, buddy. I love you too.
Unbelievable. So, Jesse, I want you to do something else today. As of right now, I would say no. I would say we are going to do something else, but I think saying it'll happen tonight might be a stretch, because if the Kyrou rumors are true, which we'll talk about in a bit, that would have to involve probably second round picks, like later round draft picks, which doesn't even happen until tomorrow, or some other stuff. So I think rushing it for tonight when other teams are busy with the draft, I think would be maybe a bit of a stretch, but it would not, like, look, it wouldn't shock me to see us trade into the first round, but I'm confident in saying, Jesse, that the summer is not done here with the Dobson move.
No, it definitely isn't. And that's the big thing about, is that we got somebody that can really help this team right now. And that's why I think that next move is really looking to get that 2C. And it might line up kind of into free agency here if we don't want to really get rid of too much draft capital kind of going forward. It would lend yourself to think that that's how Kent Hughes is really going to pivot going forward. Because the whole thing right now, and also with the Noah Dobson acquisition, it really signifies how we want to continue with this core, how we want to be that perennial long-term type of of contender. And you have to feel like Kent Hughes, like that's the inspiration at 25 years of age, as we're seeing here, 6'4", 200 pounds. It's somebody that fits that age of Suzuki very well, of Caufield, of Slav, and even kind of to be a little bit of a veteran too, while still being a young guy that need it, that can really grow with this young core. So I think that's a big part of it as well. Like, he's going to be here for a long time to come. And just the fact, Josh, like, you can tell, like, I'm getting more excited about this trade, like, as it goes on. Why? Because I'm thinking of our young core, like Suzuki, Slav, Caufield, obviously Slafkovsky, again, because he's just so dope, Demidov. But now that you can add, like, Dobson to that list, like, let's put him, he's part of the core now. That's what they did when they signed him for this deal. Sub 10 that I could add that I was very happy about. I mentioned on yesterday when we talked about this before, I said if they can get him below 10, like, somewhere 9 to 10 range would be absolutely amazing going forward. So you have to feel like, again, like it's that core to really grow together, to just be competitive, which is just getting this whole fan base so excited.
It's insane. Like, this team got so much better so fast overnight, like, well, in the middle of the day, because, like, Dobson, again, he's just a number one right D. Like, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills sometimes. I'm looking at, like, oh yeah, win-win. I don't know. I mean, look, it's good for the Islanders. Fine if they can go up and get Hagens, as Anton Frindell goes 3rd overall, by the way, for those of you who do want those draft updates. But yeah, it's absolutely crazy right now. 4th pick has Caleb Desnoyers written all over it, unless the Islanders can move up. So we'll have to take a look there. But Jesse, we got some huge super chats here. A huge one coming in from Ethan Mods, continuing this draft day tradition of unbelievable generosity. I mean, serious thank you to Ethan, to Daniel, to all of you for being here. Like, on draft night, you're choosing to watch us instead of the draft. That's unbelievable. $50 coming in from Ethan, Jesse. And look, Ethan, you've been such a huge supporter from day one. Thank you so much. Unbelievably generous. Think about it. When Florida got Seth Jones this past season, they had to give up a 1st-round draft pick and a franchise potential goalkeeper. Plus, he's in his mid-30s, so going to start declining. Montreal, he's got Dobson, who's in his prime, and for less. And I think that's such a good point, right? Again, the price at the deadline is so drastic because teams are a lot more desperate. When you're in the offseason, you have the time to think about your roster and what's going to happen going forward. Let me just bring this up again, Jesse. We have Noah Dobson and Cayden Guhle at a combined $15 million for the next 6 years, with the cap spiking. Not to mention Hutson's only $1 million next year. It's going to be way higher after, but just Dobson and Guhle, because that's a pairing I could see together long term. Or Hutson and Dobson, because again, I think Dobson's a lot better defensively than the eye test would show, especially when you look at advanced metrics. I could see that working. Yet to be seen. I trust Marty. He'll do whatever's best. But the fact that we have Guhle and Dobson, even if they anchor their own pairings, this is going to be an absolute steal. And thank you again so much, Ethan. Guys, leave some love on Ethan's super chat there. A couple likes. Leave more than that. But it's such a good point. To get it for this price, when the price at the deadline for a similarly talented right D who's a lot older on a less certain contract, like, it's kind of nuts, considering Seth Jones also has the same cap hit, mind you.
Well, and considering that we were able to get such value deals with a certain Cayden Guhle is really what makes this sort of acquisition and the subsequent contract just that much more palatable going forward. And, like, I think it's really only right to comment when we're looking at these deep pairings, like, this is a group of very smooth skating defensemen. Like, these guys are going to be able to skate. Like, we know this about Guhle. That's one of the things about him. He just gets up and down the ice so well, that mobility. Obviously, same thing with Dobson, with Hutson. Matheson, I think, is maybe a little bit of an X factor. We're going to get into that a little bit more. Like, what is the implications? Because there are many of this trade going forward here. But obviously, Matheson's still part of that equation, like a guy that can really skate out on the ice right now. So you just have to feel like Montreal, the Canadiens, have been a team that have shown that they can get a lot of offense from their back end, even with being a little bit of a younger team. You now throw a Dobson into this that's really only starting to come into his own. And I think an important thing to mention about Dobson as well and what he can bring to this team is, like, Dobson's a guy who hasn't missed much time over the last 4 years. You look at him, it's like, in the last 4 years, his lowest game totals is really 71 games. So this is a guy that consistently provide value to this team. And I'm seeing a huge bounce back for him, like, offensively going next year. Just look at the numbers, a little bit of a different situation. I think more competitive, it's fair to say, with the Montreal Canadiens, the Islanders. I don't want to get ahead of myself, Josh, but I think we're really trending upwards, right? And if you look at those numbers of where he's been, you put him in a little bit of a better situation here. And I just see I see him, very much easily a world where he's getting back into the 60-point totals next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like, what's funny? When I have Matheson on the screen, 11 goals, 62 points in 23-24, and you have Dobson, 10 goals, 70 points in 23-24. I know those comparisons are going to come out there, but like, it's still, I think, crazy for me. Again, Matheson could be something else, Jesse. I mean, there's a whole bunch of other stuff, but like, fantastic points. I mean, I'm so excited to see how this works together in the future because, like, look, to be honest, like, it just makes some guys more expendable, not just guys on this team, like a guy like Logan Mailloux, a guy like Matheson, again, depending if they want to move on from him, because I think now if you end up paying Matheson 6-7 million a year, it ends up being, okay, now it's starting to get crowded. Is that something you really want to do, or would you rather have your young guys? Again, you still have Carrier that you have to deal with after this upcoming season, because I think after next season, because he'll be a UFA. So there's some other interesting stuff there. But look, we got to get back to the super chats as well, because we have chats rolling in. We also have a lot of channel members. Kaiden Dudenaz, good morning. Mark Orr saying, from what I hear, Pittsburgh is willing to trade out of the first round. We have a lot of prospects. Hey, who knows? But we have another super chat here from Daniel. Daniel, thank you so much as well again. Number 2 right now in the chat for today. There's a lot of people competing for that number 1 spot for most chats. Daniel said, you guys are doing great. Keep up the good work. That's it for $10. Daniel, like, honestly, unbelievably generous of you. Thank you so much. I mean, look, Jesse, we're here to put in the work. Love to put out these videos. Love to chat with you guys on days like this, because this is the day that's changing the future for Montreal in more ways than one. And I wouldn't want to share it with anyone else other than the best fans in the world. I'm being dead serious when I say that too.
For sure, because it's all kind of the culmination of a lot of hard work. It's like Kent Hughes was only going to make a move like he did today when he felt like the team was ready for it. And that's the only reason why. And that's why we should be so happy about this, is like this team battled. They got into a playoff spot. Kent decided to put his chef hat on, get in the kitchen and cook something up to really help and feed this team and its fan base for really years to come, because that's what's getting us so hyped as well, Josh. It's like, for sure, it's like just the exciting brand of hockey. Like, I think that the Montreal Canadiens are just going to be one of the hottest teams to watch in the NHL next year. Like, Hutson, obviously, his stock is rising. We got really dynamic players coming to their own. You throw a Dobson, who's kind of a missing link to kind of transition towards that offense where we do need more of those goals scored. It is true. Whether to see we kind of still solidify maybe that bottom pairing with a little more vet. Like, we got so many guys, right? But it's true, like, there on the back end, like, we will need to be going smart going forward, right? Because you want to pick your battles where, you're not paying too much. And that with maybe some third pairing, you maybe have some expendable guys, but like, it's just like so many riches right now for the Montreal Canadiens. It's these prospects that they get, that they're able to develop, which is now putting them in this type of situation where they can do this. Like, being able to develop Heineman was a huge win, not a player that we drafted, but we really developed all the way through, that then becomes like a value impact player in the NHL that we can then turn and become a package here to really get somebody helping this team now. It's just a win also for the whole organization.
It's a win for everyone. Went views, as people love to say, because it's just like, it feels like there hasn't been a trade that I've been like, I don't like that. I think the closest, and this is just saying, like, for what we've done as a Habs organization, the closest trade where I've been like, I don't know if I love that, is the Kovacevic trade. And even that, I didn't really care too much, because I was like, look, that's fine. We don't have enough room on the right side. And again, at the end of the year last year, he looked great at the start of the year. And then at the end of the year, Devils fans wanted him in the AHL. So like, still, and they signed him to a big extension. I think like, almost $5 million a year or something like that. So you look, I wish Honda Civic the best. Absolutely. Shout out Hockey Junkie, but unbelievable stuff. But yeah, I see a lot of people in chat, Jesse, a lot of people complaining about this decentralized draft. We are 45 minutes into this thing, and I think, yeah, there you go. Caleb Desnoyers is going to Utah. They didn't trade it, but you know what? Glad Caleb Desnoyers is gone to the Utah Mammoth. And honestly, he's a guy that we wanted. Clearly, the Habs didn't have the means to trade up to get him this year, but that's okay. And I want to go through some of the chats here. We got P-Trump, because I can't say your name because, but he said, look, guys, it gives Mailloux a bit more time to develop. And look, you've been such a loyal viewer here. I also saw Planko. Ahoy, Planko. It's been a long time. It's always great to see you. Such a great Slovakian supporter from day one. Canadian Dude and Oz, are we happy with the Habs paid for Dobson? Maybe before we just get to Lane Hutson in a second here, Jesse, are you happy with what the Habs paid for Dobson? I feel like we've already said this. I think, like, especially if you compare it to what people go for at the trade deadline, what someone of Dobson's caliber as a right D would almost always go for, it's a very good deal. It's yet to be seen what the Islanders are going to do, of course. I think it's a great deal. And I also think, like Trump said, I don't know if I want to say, whatever, said it in the chat here. I think it gives Mailloux a bit more time to develop as well, or even flip him for another pick. So I feel like it's just a win-win in pretty much every scenario, minus my immense sadness that we're losing Emil Heineman, of course.
No, definitely. And I am okay with this because we have the quantity of prospects in the organization. And again, there's great picks to be taken anywhere. Picks still matter for sure. But what we're really missing is that quality and that top end. Last year on draft day, we were able to add something to the team that really pushed the needle forward in a huge way.
This guy!
You know what I'm talking about? Referring to Ivan Demidov on the scene here, obviously. And then true to form again this year, Hughes is really able to make a deal that just helps the Canadian move it forward. And again, I just like that there's a certain timing for this as well. Like we just had so many picks, so many prospects going forward where you really need to start taking advantage. Like the way that Nick Suzuki is playing this year, you need to do something to really help him going forward and take advantage of it, really leverage the amazing talent that you have right now. Because if, sleeping on it, you're really not doing benefit to just bring in a player for a couple years where, it's negligible the effect that he could really have with Nick Suzuki at that point in time. So I think really packing that punch, for me, is just so important. Do I think that we're done doing that this summer? No, absolutely. Whether that's at the 2C or at the winger position, like Josh, I just trust that either way, it's going to be okay. And I just love that, again, Jeff Gordon interviewed recently. He just said, like, we're just obviously very cognizant of the fact we're not going to do anything stupid, going forward. And I think that's so important. Like they're going to get a center or they're going to get a winger, but they're just either way, they're going to do it where it makes sense going forward for this team with the long-term plan. And that's what I like about this is they were able to get the long-term plan into this, like with this trade for Dobson. But just my question, Josh, like, do you feel like a Matheson trade needs to happen? Like, I'd love to hear from the fans. Like, are we okay having Matheson and Dobson? Or does this mean, like, is it in the best interest just because of the offensive nature more than anything else, to maybe, does this signal maybe Matheson may be on the move?
I mean, I think it makes it more likely that Matheson's on the move. I'm going to have my hot take, and I know a lot of the fans hate it, and you know where I'm going with this. I don't hate Mike Matheson. Like, I don't mind him, depending on what he signs for. We just saw what John Tavares signed for, that sweetheart discount in Toronto. Holy smokes, 4 years for $4 million? Like, look, I'm all down to crap on the Leafs all we want, Jesse, but we got to admit, that's an incredible deal for a guy who's still a point-per-game guy who just came off a 38-goal season. Like, fantastic work by Toronto, and great contract for John Tavares. If Mike Matheson decides to sign something like that, because again, he's 31, like some kind of 3 or 4 year deal at a very reduced cap hit, I am totally okay with that. Again, he lost a bit of leverage with this past season, not having those inflated stats on the PP1, but he still was like our PK1 guy. He can still be good defensively, and I think especially with limited time on ice, now that we've brought in another high-end defenseman to eat those minutes, Matheson will not be playing the same amount of time that he did last year. If we see him closer to 20 minutes a night, those turnovers are not going to be as big of an issue, and purely defensively, I think he's fine. However, that does come with a caveat of, we can't sign him for $6-7 million because I don't think that makes sense at that point. I think you have too many guys trying to occupy one space. If he's okay with a reduced role and signs at a reduced rate, I think okay. But if he's not willing to do that, I don't think the Habs see a long-term future with him, especially with Guhle and Hutson. Then Reinbacher coming up. We still have Carrier. Where does Matheson fit longer term with this core? He kind of doesn't. I'm down with the leadership, especially if it's short term, just to keep some good talent on the roster. I think the fans are probably going to say, look, free up cap space with him, move on from him. He's an unrestricted free agent after this year. I don't know how you feel about this, Jesse. I think that, especially with like Lane Hutson's extension being imminent, we'll talk about that now in a second. Like, I don't necessarily see the long-term future with him, but I don't mind at short-term reduced rate. I just don't know if Matheson will accept that, and I think that's what it comes down to for me.
That might be the impasse, really, in all this. Very good point, all the same, though, is when you're giving him maybe a little bit of a lesser deal, you're saying, you're probably going to play a little bit less of an ice time. But you know what? Maybe kind of implying that this might help improve his play. That would kind of be maybe my saving grace if we were kind of going. Because, Josh, I'm not going to lie, it kind of scares me a little bit with the turnovers.
Yeah.
And with Dobson, there's going to be a lot of great things offensively, but we need to be aware that there might be some of those issues same time. Like being with this core, being with Martin St. Louis, I think is a big factor. And I think that he can help him going forward. But I think that is a part of his game that we do need to just acknowledge kind of in all of this going forward. So I think just finding that right blend, right? Because we know that kind of once that playoff hockey comes around, having those rugged D-men on your third pairing sometimes makes a whole lot of sense to me in a whole lot of ways. And again, no offense to Mike Matheson at all here going forward. I just think that like with Hutson, obviously there's a little bit of a changing of the guard there. And then obviously with Dobson, that almost kind of reinforces that for me here. But it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Like there is a world where this all really helps the team. He's playing a little bit less. You get the best out of a Mike Matheson going forward. So you'd have to hope if that's the situation that's how it would play out.
Yeah, I tend to agree, right? And again, looking at that bottom pairing, hey, Nick Hague is still on the table. I'm just saying. I mean, there's probably going to be more moves. Like this roster, again, we can still go 10% over the cap, but wouldn't surprise me to see Carey Price traded, though probably in September after we've signed his bonus, right? There's going to have to be some cap manipulation, some other stuff going down at the very least that. So we'll keep an eye on that. I feel like we're never going to get to Hutson because we have such generous chatters here. Unbelievable stuff. Welcome back, David, by the way. Just saw you there. Mark Orsing, do I really need to say it? Move Matheson. Oh, we know Mark. Mark, fantastic always to see you here. Love talking to Mark. We got Ethan Jesse with another chat saying he was watching the Sean Starr show earlier, and Marco D'Amico said he wouldn't be surprised if Montreal traded with LA to get back into the draft because they were looking for a puck-moving defenseman, and Matheson is freed up now. Maybe. I mean, like, it makes sense purely from puck-moving defenseman thing, though I don't know if, I wouldn't guarantee it happened tonight. It's definitely not a bad idea. Look, they've been doing good work on YouTube for sure, Sean Starr, Marco D'Amico, but I'm not sold on a deal happening tonight. Look, again, not that I have inside sources, but I think Montreal's going to try and be patient, and I think if you're LA, I don't think you're in such a rush to get a guy like Matheson that you're going to trade your first-round pick this year. I think especially if you're Montreal, you don't mind taking a future first-round pick, especially if it's LA. They have some good young players, like again, a guy like Byfield, but I think a lot of members of their core are aging. Again, you have Brant Clark, you have Jordan Spence coming up, and then you still have Byfield, but Kopitar is aging. Fiala is not getting any younger. So it's like, it's a bit of a weird spot for the Kings. Though, again, it wouldn't shock me, Jesse, but if some team wants to take on a puck-moving defenseman and Montreal can trade back into this first round, hey, it could be interesting. But again, I think indications have been that, Hughes and Gorton are not necessarily in any rush to trade Mike Matheson because of, he's Quebecois. He brings a lot to this team that maybe we don't see just on the ice.
For sure. And I would argue that there's only a certain amount of prospects the Montreal Canadiens can only really develop properly right now. And I think that's kind of a big thing going forward of why why this trade just makes that much more sense. There is a place where, again, at a certain point, you want to kind of get that quantity, and then you want to find the certain players that you want to focus on. Yeah. And then, of course, good players to get better in any sport, they need playing time. They need ice time. There's only so much of that going around with a top six, which is really taking shape that we like a lot. And I think that Kent Hughes is right to kind of be judicious about that going forward. Like there's key specific points that we need. Right hand defense, we felt like that decor probably would change before the season came around again, and it definitely has. We'll see if it continues to do so. But I think it's really about kind of adding players onto the lineup now that can really play, given all the prospects like that we have for years to come. Some of them that may surprise us. There's going to be a couple guys kind of fall through, but like, to think that a guy like maybe a Kaiden, a Mailloux kind of breaks through and becomes some type of impact type of player, it isn't too far-fetched of an idea.
Yeah, no, it's not crazy. And I don't know. I'm just excited to see what's going to happen because I can spew anything. If I spew every single trade that's possible, Kaiden's getting traded, Mailloux's getting traded, Reinbacher's getting traded. Let me just say everything so that eventually we can come back, clip it, and just say, hey, look, I was right. But no, it's unbelievable. Like something crazy is going to happen. Some of these guys could develop even faster than we thought too, right? So there's so much good stuff. I mean, I don't even know where to focus on, right? Because there's just so much fun stuff happening with this organization. Like even a guy like Kaiden and Beck, this is going to be one of the most fun storylines heading into a training camp this year, right? Like anyway, I feel like I'm getting off topic, but you use some fantastic points from you, Jesse. But we got to get back to the super chats again, because again, no one wants to talk about Lane Hutson apparently because we got my goodness, hitting the wrong buttons. Let me just take a breath. Back to it. Thank you, Daniel. Again, number 2 right now in the chat. Who is number 1 right now for the people talking? Oh, it's Ethan. Ethan is number 1. Ethan's been so generous today. But Daniel's saying, how much would be the reduced contract to Matheson? How much would be good and how long? Well, we can give you an idea. I believe I have this graphic here for Noah Dobson's contract, right? So the 9.5 next year is down like almost 10% to 8.8, and then it's down a full 1.5 million in value if you want to look at that. To $8 million in today's money is what this contract is going to be in 2027. So let's say we sign Matheson to like a 3-year, maybe $6 million per year deal. You're reducing it then, I mean, what is 1.5 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's like 1/7. So like you basically cut it down to like a $6 million contract today is going to be worth just over 5 in a couple of years, and it's going to be below 5 after that. And like honestly, I could deal with that for Matheson. I just think that again, Jesse, like you said, with this decor, it's not that I don't want Matheson. It's just that with Matheson, Guhle, Hutson, are those the 3 lefties you want to roll with for a contender? Unless you put like, I think like if Matheson like maybe regresses a bit and does end up being like an elite third pairing guy who can still play 18 minutes a night, because that's a real thing. You can see that around the league. If that's what he ends up being, and you put a big physical guy next to him who's more defensive, I'm not totally opposed to that, right? Like there's ways where this can work. I just, again, I feel like I saw in chat, I think someone said here, Aiden Lessel says, like, I can't see the Habs shelling out more than 5 or 6. I think that's probably where the negotiations would stop. Short-term 5 or 6 mil, Jesse. Even that I feel like is relatively unlikely, but who knows? I think I would not be comfortable going any more than that, and maybe even less.
Because I want a Xhekaj on this team too, and I would even make the point that for the makeup of this decor, that an Arber Xhekaj with the addition of a Dobson is more important than a Mike Matheson. I know that that could be a little bit of a hot take, and not everybody is going to agree with that, but I just think that really at a certain point it's like we need certain skills that are really going to complement each other kind of going forward. I just think kind of putting too many eggs in one basket. And again, like Mike Matheson is super like smooth on the ice, can play a lot of ice time, and he's done a huge service for this team of really being able to take so much ice time to allow these younger guys to develop. Although maybe Guhle, he's the one exception just because he's been a vet since the beginning. Yeah. My big problem with Josh, like, are you okay to hear with what my big issue with Matheson is?
I feel like I've heard worse, Jesse. Just do it. Rip the Band-Aid off.
It's the turnovers, but it's the front of the net, sort of like, you know, allowing the pass in front of the net. But it's really the decision making a lot of the time. It's just, you know, and obviously we know the infamous pucks escaping him through the blue line, but it's sometimes just, it's really the decision making. That's the biggest thing, because that's a consistent thing that you can just see year in, year out, that sometimes just doesn't change in his game. Not making the pass that he should, taking that shot from the point to hit right off the shin pads every dang time. You know, it's just like at a certain point, it just kind of gets a little bit repetitive. Like, so that's just where it comes from. He's done a great service for this team, but I just feel like I love bringing in a Dobson, but that was my whole caveat in all of this. We need to balance it out. At the end of the day, I definitely have faith that we can going forward. I feel like it's an important factor kind of address. But again, in all this, we know Hughes and Matheson have a close relationship. And it's professionally, maybe it's winning a friendship again. And Josh, you've told me not to worry about this too much, but there's certain moments where I'm like, how much does this factor into all the situation? Like, you know, I think maybe locking up Matheson to a longer term type of deal, just like also, you know, even a line A before we kind of get a little bit more of a sample size going forward would potentially be a mistake.
Yeah, look, I understand, and I totally get it. Look, I know I hype Matheson up more than maybe I should, but like, especially for the role that we're looking at moving forward with what we have built, I just don't see it. And like, it's so hard to move on from a guy like that, a guy that loves to play for the Montreal Canadiens, that does play his heart out every single night. Bang. But it's like, it doesn't really make sense. And I'm seeing a lot of chats like, you know, why play Hutson on the wrong side just to have Matheson, you know? And then like, I'd rather trade Matheson, says Ethan, than pay him $6 million, because you can have Lane on his left side. Plus, he'd be a bottom pair defenseman that you're paying $6 million. And it's just like, Matheson's irresponsible for vets. I don't like him. Like, again, I don't mind him. Again, PK1 had some great penalty killing, but you can replace him with someone else if you bring in a better defending. I honestly, it wouldn't shock me to just see Guhle kind of eat that role, right, moving forward. Yeah. But yeah, some very good points there. We also, Jesse, we have Canucks Digest in the chat, and I think you know where this is going if you're familiar with what Canucks Digest said. Habs should have traded for Myers instead of Dobson. He would have been a little cheaper.
Classic.
Bigger.
It's a meme.
Bigger, older, Tyler Myers, baby. Look, hey, replace Mike Matheson with Tyler Myers. I told Ethan to have a lookout for him, though, Jesse. It's all right. It's all right. We got Ethan on the lookout just in case the Tyler Myers chat gets too crazy. Thank you, Ethan, for being a mod here. But yeah, it's incredible. But you know what, Jesse? I think it's finally time, just briefly, because you know, this is already going longer than I think we expected. By the way, Philly selected Porter Martone at 6th overall for those of you who are not watching the draft. So
Classic.
it's looking like that's a great pick for Philly at 6, by the way. I think that's very good value. I really like Porter Martone. It means James Higgins is available at number 7. I would keep an eye out right now on Twitter if you want to see what the Islanders are going to do with our picks, because I would not be shocked I'm going to call it right now. The Islanders are going to trade our 2 picks plus something else in the future for number 7. They're going to pick James Higgins. Just watch it unfold in front of us. But let's talk about Lane Hutson real quick. What do you think Noah Dobson's contract has on Lane Hutson? Because on the one hand, I still think a bridge deal is possible. And I think if Lane actually just wants to maximize his money, that's the best bet. So I never want to count that out. But Lane doesn't seem like a guy that cares that much about the money versus winning, right? That seems to be the thing. He can't get him off the ice. So if I'm going with my gut, it's going to be an 8-year extension this summer, or at least sometime this year for Lane Hutson. But with the Dobson signing, Jesse, I don't think they'd come in at the same cap hit. I think just because you picked Lane Hutson, he had this historic year. His rookie season as a 5'9" player is only 4 points shy of Dobson's big season that's allowing him to get that kind of money. I would say you get Hutson, but I don't think it's much more than 10. I would actually say just straight up 8 by 10, 80 million is probably what I would say for Hutson. And I do think that you have to draw some comparables to Dobson, because like that's what we signed him for, under market. Lane, we should get you maybe under market, which is, again, according to Scotia Stat, about 11 mil for 8 years. I think 8 by 10 is something I'd be okay with, Jesse. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I would be as well. It would be a huge win for the organization if we could get him. Again, sub 10. You have to feel like he might be open to taking a little bit of a team-friendly
9.55.
I mean, exactly. Like, that's the beauty here of the NHL. You could just come in, have this amazing year, and really kind of set yourself up kind of going forward. I think it's really well-deserved. And again, there's not too many players that I'm so quick to just, after 1 year, to really give them such a long-term deal, considering that we have a couple other guys already signed up. Lane Hutson, like many other things in life, is the exception to the rule again. Like, I'm totally okay. Like, do you take gold coins? Because we'll fill a sack and like give you that as bonus as well. Like, this is just a guy that you want to pay, that you really want to have on your team going forward. Just for everything he has, he's a winner through and throughout. And from that alone, I'm really sold.
Yeah, I'm sold. Like, honestly, if you sign him for 11, I'm not going to cry about it. Like, because again, with the cap going up, like, a 1 million difference in even a year-to-year salary is not going to be nearly as big in, like, by the time that contract's over, it's like, yeah, it's still going to be a bargain. Like, this is crazy thing now. You don't want to ship out crazy contracts that are way above market value, but like, even if the cap stayed flat, I'd be okay at like 10 million a year. So we'll have to wait and see with Lane Hutson, but I'm very optimistic for the future that Kent Hughes and them are going to get something out. Ethan saying he thinks they actually signed the same. Canadian Dach said, I agree, 8 by 10. Seems to be that we're all in that like 9.5 to 10.5 range. And honestly, anywhere in there, if we get Hutson at 8 years, I'm absolutely thrilled. Cannot wait for the future. We do have another nice chat from Canucks Digest. Future of Habs defense actually looks insane. All jokes aside, the future is insane for the Habs. And yeah, we know. And I think it would look even more insane with Tyler Myers. Just there for moral support. Honestly, Jesse, Tyler Myers' neck per 60, best in the league. I mean, I can't front. I mean, it's unbelievable. But yeah, shout out Canucks Digest. Look, if you guys want Canucks content, they're picking a 15 this year. So if you want some stuff, go check out Canucks Digest. A lot of great stuff over there. Mark and Griffin do such a great job. We got so many other channels too. We got Islanders Digest as well, by the way. If you want to, I might as well pump some of the other channels. By the way, guys, if you want to take from the Islanders side, they're also very happy with the return they got for Dobson. Patrick over at Islanders Digest has been killing it. Some videos are popping off right now. So if you want to go show some support to Patrick over at Islanders Digest, the work he's been putting in, tell him that we sent you. I really suggest you guys go check it out. He's been doing such an awesome job. So yeah, always good to shout out the other Digest channels, Jesse. But are you ready for some more trade talk here? Some Jordan and Kyrou stuff? This could be very, very interesting.
I think it's only right.
I think it's only right. Before we do though, there's some interesting stuff. Pierre Lebrun just dropped something. Puckpedia retweeted it. This is not a trade, but this is very interesting cap shenanigans here. So there's in the new CBA. So we see a lot. A team will retain salary and then they'll immediately ship it to like someone else in like another deal to retain more of that salary, right? So you do 50%, then you go to another team for 25. Now, if there's a second retention on a salary, say someone's already retained and then you want to trade them a few days later, you can't. It's now a 75-day waiting period before you can have a second retention. Very interesting. Now, it doesn't actually affect Montreal. I just thought that was really interesting. So anyway, just thought I'd say that. But yeah, anyway, this is the slowest draft in history. Thank goodness we're not picking here. This is absolutely crazy. All right. So The moment you've all been waiting for. He's not even in the thumbnail because this news came out very soon before we recorded. Elliot Friedman. If St. Louis is in on Bowen Byram, this was earlier today, so I saw this, but nothing linked to the Habs. Like we talked about Kyrou before, but indications were that Kyrou was not really up for sale. That's a weird way to put it, but wasn't really up for trade. If St. Louis is in on Bowen Byram, like they're reported to be, you could see them talking about Jordan Kyrou and or a defenseman. And then Friedman also said, I do believe the Blues have looked at moving Jordan Kyrou. So things kind of started to pick up on Sportsnet. And then Pierre Lebrun, all of a sudden, the Canadiens have shown interest in top 6 wingers. One of them is Jordan Kyrou, and I believe I saw some other people reiterate this as well. And Jesse, Kyrou's a name that once we heard St. Louis was maybe looking at moving on from, we talked about on the show. And, you know, there are concerns. Blues fans think he's soft. He's 6'1", 196. He doesn't hit it all. His playoff performances have been fine, not amazing. 7 goals in 12 games back in 2022, but he's a guy that is a bona fide top 6 winger. A guy that would absolutely thrive alongside another guy like Ivan Demidov. What are your thoughts on the Habs kicking tires on Kyrou? I do have my concerns that, again, we're getting bigger in Dobson. He's not necessarily more physical. Kyrou is not a physical guy either. But in terms of purely adding skill, you can add physicality elsewhere in the lineup. Do you lose Emil Heineman too? Maybe you replace him with a really physical guy. I don't know. We're losing physicality, adding skill. Don't necessarily mind it, because again, I think you can feel that in other ways. But Kyrou is such an interesting name to kind of come out of nowhere again. All of a sudden, Habs are checking in on absolutely everyone.
He's an interesting name because, again, a player like Noah Dobson, where you're watching Blues games, like Jordan Kyrou jumps out of the screen. Like, he's a talented player, scored 36 goals this past year, right? So the offense is obviously the big pros in all this. He's a difference maker on the ice, and the Montreal Canadiens need more goal scoring. It's really the big MO, at least of the regular season, to really get in there. Obviously, it matters in the playoffs as well, but obviously the negatives would have to be as well as just, again, kind of the constitution, which it's like, I'm okay because you can't expect like every player to bring in. Like, I'm okay bringing a Kyrou just as long as we're having the balance as you implied on the roster. Yeah. And I think that's a fair point, Josh, because it's not like every player is going to be like this, amazing like goal scorer, like 50 goal sniper, but then crazy grit. Like, there's guys like Xhekaj, which are a little bit anomalies, but that like play amazing defense from the beginning of their career as well. It's like hard to get one player that's really just going to encompass everything, really there. So as much as possible, it's nice to have well-rounded guys, and there are examples of that, like a Nick Suzuki comes to mind. But that being said, from there, you want to get the balance. And if we're able to kind of achieve that, I'm open to it. The idea of adding goal scoring is very exciting. That being said, like, doesn't Kyrou's game just remind you just a little bit of Line A, Josh, right? Like, again, we know that the goal scoring talent is there, but again, the lack of the physical play, when we came to the playoffs last year, like, that was a big point of contention for Habs fans of, the Line A and his very limited sample size of how that all really turned out. And I'd be interested as we're kind of shifting the playoff gears of how that would kind of shift for Kyrou. If we can kind of benefit, like maybe get like a 2C that can play kind of a heavy game there, it makes sense. But like, Josh, like, are you okay like with us like this year getting like a a second line winger like a Kyrou and a 2C? Do you think that's too much, or do you think that has to be one or the other?
I don't think it has to be one or the other. I wonder, like, if you do get both this off season, like, are you just like, oh, screw it, we're all in? Like that's where I kind of, we have a lot of prospects to make this happen. Yeah. But again, like, based on the return for some players recently, like, wouldn't shock me. Like, Heineman in 16 and 70. By the way, the Islanders couldn't trade up. The Bruins took Higgins. So he's staying in Boston College to the Boston Bruins. So, like, the Islanders couldn't even trade up in this draft. Like, I don't know. Like, it's really interesting. I think, like, I would have a hard time being upset at adding Jordan Kyrou to my second line. And I understand, like, there are similarities to that Patrick Laine game for sure, like you mentioned. But I also think that, Kyrou plays a much faster game than Laine. And I think Kyrou's general style of play, similar to Noah Dobson, like going from the Islanders to the Montreal Canadiens, like this puck possession game that Montreal plays where like we play fast as well. Like, I just feel like Dobson fits better. And I feel like, look, Kyrou fits great in St. Louis, obviously too, but I think he'd also fit very well in Montreal more than like a Laine would. But now I'm starting to envision, like, if you get Kyrou to add with Laine, is your second power play going to have Kyrou, Laine, and Noah Dobson? Like, what on earth are you? How? That's the best second power play unit in the league, like one of the best ever. Like that's just insanity, right? Like if we're actually genuinely talking about that. But I'm totally okay with it. Like again, I think you still want to address the physicality. I feel like some people forget that Kirby Dach is also a very physical, big guy. I feel like it gets lost sometimes because the dude is like 6'3", 6'4", and he lays the body and he forechecks. We just haven't seen it in a couple of years. Again, even when he was back last year, we didn't see it that much because he was still, I think, getting used to himself. But I can see Kirby being that kind of energy guy as well, bigger, more physical. We still do have Josh Anderson. Alex Newhook is a guy who I think could take even a step up in terms of forechecking now that he'll be playing, again, assuming we make a move. Even if not, he'll be playing a lot more bottom 6 minutes where he is going to have to adjust his role a little bit. He was an incredible offensive generator there at the end of the year and against Washington. Couldn't really finish, but he was creating a lot of chances, more than worth his money. But he's a guy that could forecheck as well. So, like, I honestly, like, why not try it and see with the team? Because there is a point where, like, you can't be all skill, but we do have some size, some grit, and just trying to see if it works, I don't think is the worst idea in the world, right? And again, we see what teams are winning cups now. But like, and Sam Bennett just signed 8 years, $8 million. But Jesse, I don't think it's exclusive one or the other. To get back to your question, and I would not be upset to see a guy like Jordan Kyrou come into the Montreal Canadiens at all. I find it hard to be upset at a guy who's straight up a 70-plus point player, near point per game guy, as long as the cost isn't absolutely, exorbitant.
No, that's it. It does create, kind of a little bit of like maybe a potentially like very expensive bottom 6, because Josh, like in my opinion, like you want to put Kyrou like in your top 6, like you don't want to put him at center, so it's probably bringing Laine down to like your bottom 6. Like for me, like this whole Kyrou talk, like it's almost just like reminding me of why it's so important to get that 2C to like take advantage of Laine while we have him at the cap hit that we are, because you feel like if you have him at that 2, like on that second line, there's a chance where we can get like a very productive if he can play very well. Yeah. But if he goes down to kind of a 3C, I just feel like he's really dependent on his line mates. And if that talent, because we know his pace of play isn't there, if the talent is around him, I feel like his game will just kind of go off a cliff. And there's guys like Gallagher, Anderson, where again, like playing pretty good hockey, but we're paying money to those guys. You start putting like a Laine into that equation as well, and then kind of limiting a spot for a lot of our prospects really just kind of reemphasizes why I want to get that 2C. But again, great points on Kyrou. Like we need goal scoring, and again, hard to be upset with a 70-point guy. Definitely get where you're coming from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the camera's frozen there for a second, but I think we'll be okay. But yeah, Jordan Kyrou I think is going to be awesome.
Still here, don't worry.
Yeah, okay, you're here.
I'm safe.
You're safe. There we are. We're back. The Zoom feed's back. Jesse's good. Static Jesse was only there for a few moments. Yeah. For those of you who remember Static Jesse, just type Static Jesse in chat because what a legendary moment that was. But I completely agree. We got a super chat to get to, Jesse. Daniel saying, I thought the Islanders would trade for Hagens, but they might use the 2 Montreal picks. $5 from Daniel. Thank you so much. It's looking like it. And I know Islanders fans were saying, again, shut up Patrick, Islanders Digest, this would be a big win if they could move up and get Hagens. But no, Hagens is in Boston. It was the most awkward thing. If you guys just saw that, most insane thing ever. He said, thanks for picking me to the Bruins brass, but they didn't hear him. They didn't know he was talking to them. And he was also told to wave at a camera feed that wasn't working properly, so it was broken, so he waved at nothing. This decentralized draft gotta stop. We're at pick 7 here. We're over an hour in. Look, regardless, yeah, I think it's crazy, Jesse. I think Islanders fans, again, I still think they're going to be okay with this. 2 first-round picks is not nothing. Again, reminder, we picked Cayden, Guhle, and Caufield right around this range, right? And, even a guy like Alex Newhook, and hey, what about Jordan Kyrou was a 35th overall pick, right? So, like, there's still guys to be had. But, yeah, I'm just saying, I think this trade looks better and better for Montreal as the moments go by.
For sure. And again, like what this kind of means going forward, like just the fact that Kent Hughes was able to get a player that was very coveted, as a potential trade option here is a huge win just for the optics of the Montreal Canadiens. You have to feel like it's a good look just going into free agency for other trades that they're seeing a top player in the NHL at their position is interested in coming to Montreal. Yeah. And just the fact we're getting the playoffs, all this good work that Kent's been doing, like, we know with him, it's all about like relationships, whether that's with his players, his staff, and that's starting to bear evidence. Like the word is getting out around the league. And for me, Josh, like that's just really exciting. Obviously, the implications kind of going forward to attract other top talent around the league.
Yeah, it's really true. And again, like the PEI boy Noah Dobson clearly wanted to be in Montreal. I mean, look, we heard the rumors there that the Islanders wanted Columbus to beat Montreal's offer, and they couldn't do it. And because Dobson wanted to be in Montreal, he asked for 11 from the Islanders. They probably said they didn't want to go over 10. Montreal's like, how about 9.5? Hey, it worked. I mean, he wants to be here. Yeah, no, it's just unbelievable, and it's setting the tone. Demidov wants to be here. Slav loves being here. Caufield, Suzuki love being here. Dobson said he'd rather go to Montreal than any other place that was offering to trade for him. It's like, it's setting that culture, and I think everyone wants to play with Marty. They want to play with a team that is building something special for the future, and hey, screw the no tax states. Doesn't matter. People are going to want to come play at the Mecca of Hockey, Montreal. As another little interesting thing here, Jesse, not that this necessarily has implications on Montreal, but the Seattle Kraken would just pick Jake O'Brien 8th overall, and yeah, that's a little higher than I think some mocks had him. Good pick, but he's another center. And as the Happy Tone tweets out, Matty Beniers, Shane Wright, Berkeley Catton, Jake O'Brien, that's 4 young centers they have, not to mention the other centers that they currently still have on the roster. So they might have to make a moving on from someone at some point. Catton, Wright, and Beniers. I'm not saying Montreal could go after any of those guys, but, you know, Beniers is a 2C level talent. I don't want Shane Wright. Sorry, that ship has sailed many years ago. Something like a Beniers is interesting, but I'm just saying, like, more in the grand scheme of things, Jesse, when teams are making moves, and it just means, like, what we once thought was maybe a certainty for a team or an uncertainty for another, you never really know. These situations always evolve. Teams get players, they lose players, and maybe centers that we once thought maybe weren't available might just become available. Not saying that's going to happen for Matty Beniers, but stuff like this happens around the league, and I'm just saying, keep an eye out, because Kent might get someone, like we've said before, that comes out of absolutely nowhere.
For sure. And again, I think I'd first look to a vet there. But again, Kent's going to aim for the swing for the fences. We know that's what he does. But you're so right to bring up that Seattle is definitely a potential option. We know that Kent Hughes obviously has been very aggressive, quote unquote, coming into this offseason here. Obviously, Vegas, there's a lot of rumors right now that they're trying to hold on to Hurdle and Carlson for dear life. But at a certain point, when you're just kind of crunching the numbers, Josh, like, something needs to give, right? Obviously, we know that he's part of the Mitch Marner free stakes, and I think that that's really the 2C. We should probably be highlighting a little bit more that that's the X factor in really the 2C search for the Montreal Canadiens. As soon as we know where the Mitch Marner trade is, once that goes down, that's official. Expect the 2C trade for the Montreal Canadiens to go down 24 to 48 hours from there, if not sooner, because teams are going to know where they pivot and they're really going to get their plans kind of going forward from there. So again, we have to really expect the unexpected. I'm still picturing a vet. I still think that makes a lot of sense for sure. The ideal is getting like a young kind of guy. Even if we're really able to overpay, I think a vet just obviously makes a lot more sense coming into this situation. And if it's the right fit and the right vet, I'm more than here for it.
Yeah, can't wait to see what's going to go down. There's going to be a lot of stuff. I saw Frank saying right in the chat. Oh, man, can you imagine? But Connor saying Montreal needs to find one more player with a last name ending with Son. Oh, that'd be funny because we have what? We have Matheson, we have Dobson, we have Josh Anderson, we have. Hold on, let's take a look through really quick. I think that might be it. Might be just those 3, but yeah. Oh, Lane Hutson, of course. So we have 3 defense: Matheson, Dobson, Hutson. Hey, that's pretty interesting.
Draft pick Erickson.
Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. There's.
I was thinking about that earlier while we were talking about it. It's funny enough. It's so true.
Yeah, it absolutely is true. Very, very interesting. Also, Kevin Weeks just tweeted out. It looks like the Denver skyline with the eyeball emojis. Oh boy, what does that mean? Kevin Weeks likes to tease some very interesting stuff. But I saw Mark Dumont tweet out just that Kent Hughes traded 2 first-round picks just so he doesn't have to take part in this. I think that's pretty funny. That's pretty good there. But yeah, I'm gonna have one last look through the chat here. I think that'll probably be it. Ethan saying I remember Static Jesse. Oh, we all remember Static Jesse on this blessed day. We don't need a young 2C, someone that can fill till Xhekaj is ready. Says RPM. Hey, again, a vet could work. Though again, there's no guarantee Xhekaj ends up being a center at the NHL level. They're exploring wing. Like it's never a guarantee because he still looks like he probably will be, but don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, but I tend to agree. I think Xhekaj is going to be awesome, and I think he very well could be a center. Yeah, love Rasmus Anderson. Hey, that could be interesting too. At the same time, impossible to keep all the prospects. Need to figure out who's still in their midterm plans. Yeah, like we still haven't traded our prospects yet, Jesse, and we still have the #1 prospect pool in the NHL. We still have guys like Joshua Waugh, Owen Beck, Logan Mailloux, Oliver Kapanen, like so many other guys, David Reinbacher, even a guy in net like Jacob Fowler. not say these guys could be traded, but I'm saying we have some pieces that could be expendable. So I'm just saying keep a lookout. I think that'll probably do it for this stream right now. Now the Islanders didn't trade. If Montreal moves back into the first round, hey, we'll be doing something, I'm sure, talking about what's going on. But yeah, I think that'll pretty much do it. Just needed to talk about this future of the Habs, Jesse. We're not done yet. I can pretty much guarantee that. And even though we don't have picks tonight, something big happened, and I'm just very happy that we can say that.
You have to know, and that's why we're so happy to all have you on our live here tonight. The often imitated but never replicated Habs Digest. We know you guys know. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for stopping by. There's just so much to be excited about when it comes to this team going forward. You guys have been here all through the ride, through the ups and the downs, and now we're just getting rewarded. Like, now is really when the fun kind of starts and when the rubber kind of really hits the road. I love that we got in the playoffs, but like Kent Hughes says, like, hold my beer. Like, I'm not settling there. I know this team is capable of being even better. So I'm just loving the energy from the front office, from this whole team, to be real, right? Like, the whole culture has been what it's about, and that's why it's been so much fun to do this all with all of you guys.
From the whole team, from the whole chat, I like that. Often imitated, never replicated. You guys know, but thank you so much for being here. We won the day, says Owen. Can you do to us? Thanks, guys. Mark Orr, thanks for the live chat. Frank, go Habs, go. Make the playoffs this year. Bet you can bet on it. Look, if you enjoyed, leave a like, comment. Most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Hey, there's still a lot of you that are not subscribed. We're here every single day. Doesn't matter. For those of you who saw the video in the car at the ferry crossing, you know we don't miss it just to miss it. If we can get a video out, a video is coming out. Thank you all for tuning in every single day. Oh, you know we'll be back here as soon as something big happens, because I know a lot more stuff is about to go down. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch y'all on the next one.